How's it rockin', Dween Nation? This is the Dween Sports Podcast. We're about to get underway. But before we do, we'd love if you could like, comment, subscribe, or share. We are posting weekly sports content, and we want to build up the brand that is Dween Sports. Thank you all, and enjoy.
Welcome in, Dween Nation. This is your host, Justin Pies, alongside Genoa Agudelo, and we have two guests. One you've seen before, one you haven't. First off, good to see you, Dad. Victor Pies is back, as well as Cooper Griffin, a longtime friend, fantasy football friend for just about life. We've been playing for a long time together. We used to write sports for our high school team back in the day, so we're excited to have you on, Coop. How you doing?
I'm good. I appreciate you letting me be on here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you on. Actually, a really, really good fantasy football mind here, so we're glad to have him on. Dad, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I can't wait for this 2025 season. I'm just looking forward to it. We just have to keep doing these mock drafts. That way you know who you to pick when the draft comes that day. So
I agree. I completely agree. I mean, obviously we got mock drafts that we've been rolling out, Dween Nation, but also we're going to start ramping it up with sleepers, breakouts, bust, our my guys, and everything as we get closer to the season because, July is right around the corner, then August, then game time. So excited to do this draft, but also, how's my brother Genoa doing?
Yo, Dween Nation. Justin, I'm doing good. Another, fantasy season around the corner, and there's nothing like June, and now we're going into July here, doing mock drafts, and that's really what you do during the summer, guys. Once basketball's over, you're getting ready for football, and so this is kind of our sports to go over here for the next month and a half. But very excited. I'm excited to see what we're picking here today.
Yeah, I'm really ready to get into it, and we can even click start on this guy, but. The lineup of the draft here is me at first overall. Then we got Cooper at fourth overall. Genoa is sixth overall. And my dad is eighth overall. The rest is CPUs, but we're going to run it like that. It's a half PPR 10-team league. We're going to go 16 rounds. And we're going to discuss why I have the best draft at the end of it. So that's kind of the whole goal of this episode. No, but I'm really excited to do this mock draft thing. This is what, our fourth mock draft now. Mm-hmm. So let's get it rolling. I am first overall. And obviously, to me, the discussion is between Jamar Chase and Bijan Robinson for number one overall. Jamar Chase, though, obviously had a spectacular season. And the reason I'm going to go him is because nothing's changed. They paid big money to Jamar. They paid big money to T. Higgins. The defense is still doo-doo. And that's why I think Jamar Chase still has to be the clear number one pick in this draft. So I'm going to go with Jamar to start us off here. We move with Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, and now we're at Cooper.
I think I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. And the reason for that is because I really like Justin Jefferson because even though Jefferson has proven no matter what the QB is, he can produce. But the reason I'm picking Saquon is just based on the fact that later on in the draft, the less and less amount of running back I trust outside of guys like Gibbs. Pretty much outside of Gibbs, I think could go either way because guys like Derrick Henry, it's just getting up there in age. I know he had a breakout year last year in Baltimore. I just don't really trust him that much. Genty has all the talent in the world, but going to a team with a horrible O-line, as in the Raiders, you never really know, especially with a rookie.
Yeah. No, I want to throw you a question too. So you picked Saquon here at 4. And Gibbs and Bijan went before. Is Saquon, would you say, your RB1, or would you rather go on those two guys?
I'll have Saquon RB1 just based off what he done last year. And with coming back to the Eagles, I think that there's no reason he shouldn't have just as good a year as last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Nothing really changed. I agree. All right, we'll move to 6. Genoa, what's up with that?
I'm going to go with Jefferson. I feel like, yeah, he does have J.J. McCarthy, and I'm not so confident, but I still think that historically in the NFL, you got your Andre Johnsons that, have an okay quarterback and still put up numbers, and so I'm feeling really good about it, so I'm going to go with J.J.
J.J. is off the board, Ashton Genty next, and then we got Dad.
Yeah, I was looking to pick up Ashton Genty. Someone picked him up before me. I'm looking for a wide receiver, and I like Puka Nacua. Even though Adams is there, I think he's still going to have over 100 catches. So I'm going to go with Puka Nacua.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Of Puka heading to next year as well. Oh, you're back on the clock too after four guys are off the board. What do you got here?
And I really love having wide receiver. I like Brian Thomas. But you know what? I'm going to go with the old man and Derrick Henry. He still has a couple of years left. He's going to produce this year too.
All right, I like it. Going split. Would you say if you had gone, just say Genty was there at 8, would you have gone Brian Thomas in the second round, or would you still have gone Henry?
I think I would have gone Henry just because I think the wide receivers are more, it's longer pick. You can pick a good wide receiver in the third, fourth round. So, yeah,
All
I think
right,
they're
yeah,
more
I like it.
available.
All right, Janny.
I'm gonna go with Christian McCaffrey here. I know it's a little bit of a, he's been hurt last year, but I think he's gonna come back ready to go. This offense is gonna be, the offensive line's revamped. Hopefully, San Francisco can make a run in their division. And hey, I like Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey here together.
That's good, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go double Eagles, and I'm taking AJ Brown.
Woo!
The reason, because the guys around us, AJ Brown, in my opinion, is the most reliable guy out here. Jonathan Taylor, being on the Colts gonna be horrible next year. Don't really trust him that much, especially with his injury history. Bucky Irving's an interesting guy, but he had 1 year, and I just can't trust a guy based off 1 year production taking him so early. And other guys like Brock Bowers, great tight end. I don't trust taking a tight end very early, especially just being on the Raiders. Even though he had a great year last year, new QB coming in, you don't really know for sure what Bowers is going to do. He's probably going to be great, but can't count on it. So I think AJ Brown's the safest pick.
I'm interested with that. Do you ever have concern of having the same guys on the same team?
Yes, but I think depending on the team.
Okay.
Eagles with their offense, I trust them. Eagles is a good team, and I trust Jalen Hurts in that offense to be consistent most of the time. So I'm okay with taking two guys on the same team, but like other teams, no.
Got
Well,
it. That's a really good point.
As long as it's a different position. You don't want two receivers on the same team.
Yes.
At least I don't. A running back and receiver is great. If you could follow it with the quarterback to, throw or hand off or throw it to running back, you could double do something.
Yeah. I agree. A good offense makes it better for me to do that. Moving to me though, so at the end of the second here, I have a couple options I kind of like. I'm not the biggest fan of Jonathan Taylor, but he kind of falls in the same category as guys like Bucky Irving or Chase Brown or Kyron Williams. And then if you look at wide receivers, there's Lad McConkey, who I'm a big fan of, but even also T. Higgins. But I do have Jamar Chase, so I'm going to probably nix out T. Higgins there. I am a big T. Higgins guy this year.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go Lad as one of my picks. I do really like Lad McConkey. I think he really stepped up in the back half of the year, was a top 10, top 12 wide receiver through the last 8 games. Now you go into his second season. Obviously more chemistry with Justin Herbert. I know they picked up Trey Harris in the draft, and they still have Quinn Johnston, but that really doesn't scare me. And I just think this team's going to be improved. So I'm going to go Lad, and then I want to pick a running back here. One of these 4 guys, to me, they're all really close. I think because Taylor, I agree. Their offensive line went down. I know that they might start Daniel Jones, which to me is kind of better than Anthony Richardson, but still not great. And then Bucky Irving, you're right. It was 1 year of production, really like, I guess, 10 to 12 weeks of production. But they lose Liam Cohen, and then Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams, the one who's kind of it's been consistent. Like I feel like he's had a lot of doubters the last couple of years, and he's still putting out top 8 running back seasons, which makes it really tough. And then Chase Brown, who after he became the starter, he was the RB6 in fantasy, so he was super productive. Wow, this is tough. I'm gonna go with Chase Brown. I'm gonna double dip on one of the best offenses in football, and I'm gonna do that there. So Chase Brown for me. And we'll back to you, Cooper.
All right. With this pick, I think you could go tight end like Jackson Smith, which I think he's due for a breakout year because last year, second half of the season, had a great season. And with Metcalf gone, he's going to be number 1. With Sam Darnold, which I think Sam Darnold can do really good in that Seattle offense. But I'm going to take Brock Bowers.
Ooh, okay.
And the reason for that is because I don't love him in the second round, but in third round, he is by far the best tight end in fantasy football. And even though last year tight ends besides Brock Bowers had a really tough year, I think Bowers is the safest option and clearly better than any other tight end you can get.
I mean, yeah, definitely the drop is good because I think he was going around pick 16 or 17 in drafts. So to get him at what, like 24, I think that's much better value for him.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, and honestly, to me, there's about 3 tight ends, maybe 4, but probably 3. To me, Kittle, McBride, Bowers, and then there's like a clear drop in my liking of them. Like then there's Laporta, Hawkinson, Kelsey, and further. So yeah, you're taking one of the few guys I think that are up in that tier. But yeah, okay, we'll move to pick 6.
Josh Allen is staring you right in the face, but I think it's too early.
So your voice went out.
Yeah, your sound's out. I got you.
All right, yeah. So I think Coop kind of talked me into it. I'm gonna go with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I want to go Josh Allen here, but I feel like I can get a good quarterback later on in this draft. I just like Jackson Smith and Jigba because I feel that I think he could be good with Sam Darnold. They do have Cooper Kupp there as well, so it's not like he's the only wide receiver on that depth chart that defenses are going to be covering. And I like it. I got Justin Jefferson, a former Sam Darnold QB, and then now I got Jackson Smith and Jigba, so I'm feeling good about this one.
Right, Jason off the board, Josh Allen off the board.
Yeah, that was a good one. With the picks I have now, and I've told myself I don't want to pick up a quarterback. But, I mean, like he was saying, Lamar Jackson staring me right in the face, and the players right now that are going, I think I'm going to pick a quarterback and pick Lamar Jackson.
All right, Lamar off the board. Okay, so you do quarterback.
Perfect. Yeah, because, see, I was going to pick T. Higgins, and T. Higgins there for me, either T. Higgins or Mike Evans. Man, T. Higgins is second, Mike Evans. You know what? I'm going to go with the A&M and go with Mike Evans, my boy. There you go.
Good pick.
I'm going to go with Mike Evans. He's been 1,000-yard receiver for the last 8-9 years.
Every year of his career.
Every year, so.
And I do think he's going to be because he tied the record with Jerry Rice this past season, and so if he gets 1,000 this year, he will pass.
And Higgins does get hurt here and there.
He does. I will say, T. Higgins in the games he played last year was the wide receiver 3 in fantasy. Now he did miss a handful of games, but when he's on the field, but yeah. All right, we'll roll it back to you, Janelle.
All right, well, I'm going to go with my fellow Houston Texan at running back, Joe Mixon. I think here in the 4th round is not a bad spot to get him. I just hope he stays healthy. I know we got Nick Chubb there right behind him in that backfield, but I think for the most part, Joe Mixon's going to be good, and I'm feeling good about getting him in the 4th round.
I like it.
All right, for the next pick, I think Justin talked me into it. I'm going to take T. Higgins.
Oh.
And the reason for T. Higgins is just as Justin said, I trust his Bengals offense. And as long as T. Higgins is healthy, I trust him.
Oh, yeah, he's a red zone target for sure.
Oh, yeah, big time.
The only other guy I was debating on picking was Rashee Rice. I know he got that bad injury last year, but before he got hurt, he was wide receiver 1.
For sure.
If he can come back and be remotely close to where he was last year with Mahomes as QB, I think Rashee Rice could be a top 5 receiver next year.
Yeah, and
for sure.
Yeah, I was wrong about him. We were watching something today, me and my dad, and people said he tore his ACL last year. He, in fact, did not tear his ACL. He tore his LCL, and he did something else. But it wasn't catastrophe like we had thought last year with the injury. And he's been 100% in OTAs.
Yeah, OTAs, he's been killing it. They say.
So I at first I was shaking my head, but I'm starting to turn it back a little bit.
Guys, can we look at Team 2's running backs? I'm sorry, Justin. That's just like,
I know. I was just
crazy.
He's loaded.
He's loaded, dude. That guy. You don't have to pick another running back. Yeah. That's a good.
I might go with that draft strategy, man. I don't know if Kyron falls in the 3rd, but
and look, he still gets Terry McLaurin.
Yeah,
in the 4th. Great receiver.
All right, well we're back to me here, and I did a mock draft earlier at 1 just to try it out, and this same situation kind of happened, which I don't hate at all. I'm going to start it with getting who I think is the last good tight end in the high tiers, and that's George Kittle. So I'm going to knock out tight end right there because I'm happy with that. And for 1, 2, when in games where he didn't have to play with Deebo Samuel, and then especially without Brandon Ayuk, he was one of the best, by far the best tight end in fantasy. And last year, he was the number 1 tight end in points per game. So I know Brock Bowers did have that phenomenal year, and it's going to stay hot like that. But I think Kittle's going. I made a TikTok too on on George Kittle, but I'm a big fan of him this season. Then we move to the next pick here, and I could go one of those wide receivers, which I was like, I'm looking at, I'm interested in, but there's also a couple quarterbacks that I want to look at. So obviously you got Jalen Hurts, who Super Bowl winner, rushing king. The tush push is not banned. I love that. I love that. But I also love stacks, and to have Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow together would be crazy. And now that's the thing. I'm hedging a lot on the Bengals here because I already have Chase Brown too. So I would have literally entire offense, which if they're all healthy, that might be the best way to go.
And if they score,
It's going to be one of them, right? And they should be one of the highest scoring teams because their defense is awful, and they throw a lot. So that really has me interested. But I do like Jalen Hurts. I do think he's safer. But I'm gonna stick with this stack. I've been wanting to do it, and I'm gonna roll with it. And so I go Joe Burrow here to have 3 Bengals on my team now. That's something.
All right. So I think I like the strategy you're doing because I was thinking the same thing with Jalen Hurts.
Oh,
My
yeah.
thought process was if Rashi Rice was available, I'll take Rashi Rice just because of the upside there. In the 5th round, Rashi Rice can be your best player on your team easily by the end of the season as a 5th round pick if he stays healthy. I'm also gonna go with the stack with Jalen Hurts because of I think the Eagles' offense, they're bringing everyone back. There shouldn't be any difference between last year and this year. And Jalen Hurts, I think, can be really consistent as a fantasy QB just because he's going to have that rushes. He's going to have that tush push. He's going to get those 1-inch rushing touchdowns to where even when the passing game's not getting there, he can get you the rushing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And honestly, now that you've done the stack and you have 3 Eagles and I have 3 Bengals, and my dad, you have 2 Ravens, you might as well just add the 3rd one somewhere. And Genoa, you don't, but you could. CJ's out there, Purdy's out there, JJ's out there. Nothing like a good stack.
Yeah, I'm looking what I got here. There's actually some really interesting names here. I'm gonna go with a strategy in this draft, just this one right here, where I can wait and get a quarterback, and let's build up this offensive skill set here. There's a lot of good talent right here. I'm gonna go Garrett Wilson. Let's do it. Let's do Garrett
That's a good
Wilson.
one, of course.
I think Justin Fields has got a lot more in the tank. I think
Yes.
Justin Fields is a phenomenal quarterback, and I think when him and like DJ Moore had a few years ago, and him, I think, and another wide receiver, I can't really think of it. I think he's going to be able to do really good with Garrett Wilson. They have a new coaching staff there. They got Rodgers out of there, bickering old man Rodgers. They got that Robert Saleh coaching tree out of there. And hey, they got the was it Aaron Glenn from Detroit? I think he was able to. I mean, obviously, he wasn't on offensive side. He was able to see what they were able to do with Amon Ra and Jamison Williams there in Detroit. So hopefully, I think he took some out of Ben Johnson's playbook, takes it to New York, and I like Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, and you mentioned like that Lions great passing squad that they've been a part of the last couple of years. They brought the passing game coordinator. So obviously not the guy calling plays, that was Ben Johnson, but Ben Johnson's right-hand man was Tanner Angstrom for the Lions. So that's a big move. And they were college teammates, Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields. So they know each other well. So I like it too. All right, Dad, what do you got?
My strategy was to get another running back because, I only got one running back.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not doing it. And you think I'm going to pass up on Marvin Harrison Jr.? I need that another receiver. He will ball this year, at least much better than last year. So I'm picking Marvin Harrison.
Harrison off the board, and it's back to you.
And then I knew it was going to come back to me. I was thinking of picking Cortland Sutton, but I need another running back, and I'm going with DeAndre Swift. He's going to have a boatload of carries.
Yeah, Swifty.
Okay, so for me, I think I need another running back, even though DK and Devontae are just staring me right in the face. But I got my 3 receivers. There's a ton of good running backs here. There's a lot of good ones. I'm going to go with Judkins there. I'd usually go Tony Pollard because I like Tony Pollard there as a 6th-round pick. But let me go with the rookie there. I need some young legs there because I got 2 dinosaurs at running back there. But I like Judkins there, 6th-round pick.
No, I think that's a good pick there. I'm going to go with DK Metcalf.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's gonna be good. I think Rogers going to get him. He's going to feed him.
Dude, fast too. He's
DK, big, strong wide receiver. And you know how Aaron Rodgers loves his wide receiver ones, especially when the one ball is downfield. And I think DK Metcalf have a really solid season with Aaron Rodgers behind him.
Oh, yeah.
I like it a lot. For me, I clearly, if you look at my board, I have one running back, and that running back is Chase Brown. So I really want to address that position. And I want to address it with some higher upside guys, especially rookies. So I'm going to start it off with Caleb Johnson, who I'm a big fan of for the Steelers. I think he's in line for a good season. Then we move to the second one, which to me is a bit trickier because, I mean, I could go wide receiver. There's Cortland Sutton out there who I like. Jameson Williams is a solid pick. Devonta Smith that you were talking about. But I also just don't want to miss out on these crop of running backs. And so it comes down to R.J. Harvey. You got Trevion Henderson. You got Brian Robinson. Those are three guys I'm looking at. R.J. Harvey obviously has J.K. Dobbins as his guy that he's going against, but he was a second-round pick, so there's a lot of draft capital that the Broncos put on to Harvey. But he also is somewhat of a smaller back. I feel like I want a workhorse or I want a guy who's going to be a receiving monster. So I'm actually going to knock out R.J. Harvey from this conversation. Then we move to Brian Robinson and Trevion Henderson, where Henderson has Ramondre Stevenson, who is the incumbent and the guy that's going to probably start this season. But we've seen issues from Ramondre. We've seen fumbling. We've seen inefficiency. So I think that Henderson will be a guy 8 weeks in that will become kind of the main back. But I think it's going to start really slow. And then you got Brian Robinson, who I think doesn't have the ceiling of those two guys. Like, I think Henderson could be a top 10 running back if things really work out his way. I don't think that happens with Brian Robinson, but I do think he is fairly safe. I think he's a guy who's going to be a top 25 running back at the end of the year. Hopefully he gets enough touchdowns. Last year he kind of battled injuries here and there, and so he was kind of unreliable. But it's tough. I did pick my upside guy with Caleb Johnson, so it makes me want to go with the safer option here, and I'm going to go with Brian Robinson. But that was a tough one for me. It might change based on the week, based on any news I get from Denver's camp and New England's camp, but that's what I'm going to go with now.
No, I think that's a good pick. With me, I love doing a hero RB strategy. So in the first round, I take Saquon Barkley. And for my second RB, always try to take a guy that is a safer option. Guys like R.J. Harvey, Trevion Henderson, they're rookies. They're going to be battling with other guys. Who knows when they will get more touches or maybe even get the starting job or split backfield. But I'm going to take the safer option in Tony Pollard. I think Pollard had a very solid season last year. And I think there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to do the same thing with this offense, especially with the new QB. I think that will help him out a lot.
Yeah, Cam Ward is definitely a major upgrade of Will Levis, so I could see him even having just a little bit of a better season. Hopefully, I mean, the thing that's looming around is Tyjae Spears, if he gets any more involvement in the offense or if it's kind of going to be the same reload and replay.
I think Tyjae Spears is going to be more the same with Tyjae Spears, just because I feel like if he was going to get more involved in the offense, they would have tried out last year since the Titans were so bad.
Yeah.
I feel like they would involve Spears so much if they were this year, but I think it'll be more of the same. But I think Pollard's going to be definitely the starter and go-to back.
Yeah. All right, Jano, what do you got?
Oh, man. You know what? I think it's time for me to just get my quarterback out the way. And you know what? I'm going to go with Dak Prescott. I'm looking at the depth chart here. I love it. You got CeeDee Lamb, superstar. You got George Pickens, who just got traded there. Jalen Tolbert, I think he's primed for a decent wide receiver 3 season. You still got Jake Ferguson. And then Kayvon Turpin, the speedster there that they still got. The Cowboys always got some random wide receiver as well that they throw to. Maybe a Mingo kind of goes off, or a Jalen Brooks. So I think, not to mention, this running back room, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst in the league besides like the Saints. But I feel like they're going to be throwing it a lot. I feel like there's going to be games where the Cowboys are going to just absolutely need to throw. They might be losing 27-3 or 31-3, and Dak just has to throw 40 passes, and it gets him to, his final stat line. They'll lose the game, but he'll have like 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, maybe 2 picks. But, hey, that's good enough for me if you're my quarterback. So I'm going to go Dak Prescott.
All right, Dad, what do you got?
Yeah. So I haven't got a tight end. I could wait on a tight end. I need another running back. I don't. You know what? I'm going to pick a rookie in Travion Henderson. I think I'm going to go that route.
Travion Henderson.
Yeah, he will take
All
control here about mid season.
right, we're back to you.
All right, and then let me see here how deep this.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at wide receiver right now. So what I'm going to do, you know what? I'm going to go and pick up George Pickens. I think he's going to ball out this year. He might get 1,000 yards and maybe 7 touchdowns, but he's going to do well.
I think he's a value right there, actually. I think in the 8th round, based on what I've heard and based on him being a contract year with an improved offense and improved quarterback.
Right.
I think it's a really good pick.
Let me see. All right. So I'm looking at these running backs. It's getting pretty bad, just a little bit.
It is.
And I do want to get one before it goes ghost town here. Let me go. See, I want to go Tyrone Tracy here, but Scatabo is I can't deny how talented he was in college. Najee Harris with the Chargers now, but I think that Amari Hampton there could also take his spot. Yeah. Let me go. This is really tough, y'all. You know what? I might shift to wide receiver actually, and just go Chris Olave. And maybe somehow during the season, I can pull a trade for another running back. I do want to go running back in that round, but man, the talent wasn't that good. Maybe I can come back around in the 9th round.
I'm in the same position as you. The running backs gone a little too early for me, but I only have 2 RBs. I think I had to pick an RB here because there is a lot of depth in wide receiver in these rounds, in my opinion. And I'm going to take the risk and go for Cam Scatabo.
Yeah, he's going to be good. He's a beast.
The reason for that is I like Tracy, but I can see a guy like Scatabo and the way he runs very easily, or not easily, I'll say. I don't think it would be long until Scatabo becomes the starting back in the Giants' backfield.
I would
Especially-
say think of it.
Especially line.
Think of it as like a power McCaffrey, like a power back version of McCaffrey.
Yeah, he was a baller.
Yes.
He was a baller at Arizona State. It's on time will tell, but I think I agree. I think it's a few weeks in, a handful of weeks in, and Scatterby is going to start chipping into that workload. For me here, honestly, who I really wanted to go was Tedero McMillan. He goes right before me, which breaks my heart.
I was thinking
Same
of
with
him.
Addison. Same with Addison. I like both of those guys, but I'm going to go with a guy who I think has fallen pretty far. And I'm going with Jamison Williams as one of my picks here. The end of the 8th. I'm happy with that. He's my 3rd wide receiver. So I'm just getting into my bench. I'm trying out this strategy to see if I can fill out my starting lineup first and then conquer the depth later. And so that's what this is. I'm going with Jamison. And then looking at maybe running back, right? I mean, I could go another wide receiver, but I think there will be some more solid guys later on. And I'm actually going to go with a guy who it's a little bit of a reach, but a guy who I love. We were talking down about him a little bit earlier in this episode, but I think that he's in line to become the star back of a team who has been missing a star back for a year. And I'm going to go with Javonte Williams. I think I'm going to die on this hill thinking that Javonte is going to become something. He's been one of my favorites since he came into the league. It hasn't worked out, but this is the last opportunity, perfect landing spot for him. So I'm going to take that opportunity there and go Javonte.
I think that's a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
Me, I think looking at the wide receivers on the board, I feel like there's a lot of guys that could have breakout seasons. I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to go with the guy that I should think it's too talented a receiver to not have a good year, and that's Cooper Kupp.
That's a good pick, especially in that round. That's a real good pick.
I think Cooper Kupp over the years have proven that he can work with other star receivers. So even if Smith has a breakout year, Kupp can thrive as a wide receiver too, just like he did in LA with Puka. And I think there's no reason why Cooper Kupp can't be a solid wide receiver too, especially in the Seattle offense, which I think has the potential to be amazing next year. Sam Darnold, and you have Kenneth Walker and Zach in the backfield. I think that could be a scary offense next year.
Yeah, I'm a fan, especially this late. I mean, a guy who just a couple of years ago was the Triple Crown winner, Super Bowl MVP. I know he's fallen off little bit, but I think he had a nagging injury last year that really slowed down his production. And now he's actually back home. I think he's from Seattle. So this is a reunion of sorts. So that'll be good for him.
All right, I need a running back here. As I talked about last round, there's a couple good options now in this round. Man, I think I'm gonna go with the guy once upon a time was a first round pick. I'm gonna
Oh,
go
I
with
know.
Austin Eckler.
Oh,
I
okay,
think
no.
that I think that I love Brian Robinson Jr., but injuries do happen, and if God forbid, an injury does happen in Brian Robinson, hopefully it doesn't. But even so, I think Eckler is still a reliable option this year. Just a little bit of a reliable.
Well,
Yeah, I think
thank you guys. Thank you for leaving this guy that I always wanted to pick up every draft because he will take number one running back. Justin, you know who I'm talking about, and that's my man Jordan Mason. He's going to overpower Aaron Jones, and he's going to take that
Yeah,
position
he could.
there.
I do like him a lot.
And I'm glad I did that because when I picked up Trevion Henderson, I should have picked up Ramonde Stevens, and I'm going to go and pick up another running back and pick him up in case he starts and Trevion doesn't. So
That's good. It's insurance right there.
And I'm glad that Najee falls to me here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab him. And I'm feeling good about my running backs. I believe I have 5 now. And so, things are looking good. Things are looking good now in the running backs here with me.
I'm going to take a similar strategy as your dad, and I'm going to take Spears. And the reason for that is because my running back room outside of Barkley is not ideal. And if one of either Spears or Pollard goes down, the other one will have a lot of workload. So I think it's a safe option to get the backup.
right, I think so too. That's a good
Well,
idea.
I'm not going to do that strategy. No, I'm kidding. I'm thinking of doing. Well, now I'm kind of picking the best available guy. I think right here because I don't love the running backs that are staring at me. Like Rashad White is fine. He could be in consideration, but everybody else is a clear backup. And so then I look at wide receivers, and there's actually a wide receiver one that I'm still interested in, a guy who I've talked about for a couple of weeks now, and it's Jacoby Myers. I think he is going super under the radar, a guy who I feel like has gone under the radar his entire career, but he finally has an upgrade at quarterback. The O-line's improved, and I know they drafted Jack Besh and Dante Thornton, but I don't think that they're in line to take his snaps. I think they're just going to fight over wide receiver 2 all season. And then, yes, the only kind of thing in Jacoby's way is obviously the targets that are going to go to Brock Bowers, and maybe the rush is obviously the Ashton Genty, but you're telling me a wide receiver 1 with Pete Carroll, a good O-line, a better quarterback than Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. I'll take Jacoby Myers for me here. For my next pick, though, this is where I would go running back or wide receiver again, but I'm looking at the tight end room right now, and there really haven't been that many that have gone. And I did pick Kittle, but we talked about it earlier. Injuries can be there for him. He sometimes misses time. So I'm going to go with the guy who's at the top of my list in the remaining tight ends, and that's TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Justin, you read my mind. I'm not a big fan of the Titans this year, but I feel like the Titans are slipping. And even though he's getting up there in age, when there's a red zone or third down must get, Travis Kelce will always find that zone,
Yeah.
always find that pocket. And with Patrick Mahomes, their dynamic duo, I feel like Kelce at minimum, he's gonna have games where he sneakily gets 7 receptions, 70 yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
As a backup option, especially if Bowers goes down, I think Kelsey's a great option.
Yeah. I don't think it's happening in leagues. I mean, obviously, this is a ADP simulation on Fantasy Pros, but to me, there's just no way that we see Hawkinson, Kelce, Ingram drop to the 11th. I'd be surprised.
Maybe take that all day long. They're there.
Hey, it happened this one, so
It's true. It's true.
I think you guys are reading my mind or something because I was going to pick a tight end too and just
me too.
And you know what? I want to go Evan Ingram. Honestly, it doesn't look the flashiest, but he is in Denver. Think about what Sean Payton has been able to do when he was in New Orleans with tight ends. Jimmy Graham, Juwan Johnson, Jeremy Shaw. I mean, they can go on and on and on. So I think maybe Evan Ingram, he's finally found his home. I know Jacksonville, he had a good year or so, and then he kind of just fizzled out. But hopefully this year with Bo Nix, he can get it done.
And he was the tight end 2 in 2023. It's not that long ago. And I literally think he was on the waiver wire or, was a free agent for like a couple of days. Like Denver scooped him up real fast when he got cut by.
Well, that's who I wanted. I wanted him because he's on the new team. I picked him up, I think, in 2023 also. But I do like this other guy, which I've been picking in my mock drafts, is David Njoku. He's getting a lot of catches because they're coming from behind. And, that's going to be a good pick.
Yeah, contract year. As long as you got Joe Flacco, I'm on board. I don't know about the other guys.
All right, well, I'm looking now towards the wide receiver position. Man, I told you I don't like Indianapolis Colts. I love Michael Pittman, but just who's going to throw it to him? And you know what I'm going to pick is probably, man, there's still none. You know what? I'm going to go and pick up Michael Pittman. I'm going to do Michael Pittman Jr. Yeah.
You did it over your guy Matthew Golden. I know you've been high on him.
Yeah. There's still a lot of, they got Dobbs, they got Watson might not be playing, but they got the Reed. So
can we talk about how Team 7 has 6 straight wide receivers?
I know. I was just about to say that too. I'm like wide receivers. I'm like,
yeah, that's crazy. Let's see. I'm looking at. I think I might need to get a backup quarterback, and what better than my favorite quarterback in all of pro football, C.J. Stroud of my Houston Texans. I mean, that's my favorite player in the whole world, times infinity. Besides Jamar Chase, I mean, let me get him on my team. Let me get C.J. on the team.
Why did you pick him up before Dak then? If he's your favorite player,
I just feel like for me, I don't pick, even though I have Mixon and Stroud, I don't pick Texans as much because I feel like I'm a jinx to my own team if I pick them. So I don't pick them. But since this is a mock and CJ's there, I got to have him on my team. I love CJ Stroud. I've gotten to meet him a couple times too. He's a good, nice guy. Very nice guy.
Dang.
I like that pick. I think in rounds like this, you got to go for guys who can just have a breakout year. I mean, a lot of times that's either like a rookie wide receiver, but I like Darnell Mooney a lot at this position. But one guy I'm just circling back to is Marquise Brown.
Oh, Hollywood.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is he's been hurt the last couple of years. If he can stay healthy this year, he's just so fast. And with that offense, they have some fast guys with the Xavier Worthy. Rice is pretty fast himself, and Rice will be number one. But Marquise Brown, he's the guy that he can just get 70-yard touchdowns out of nowhere. And with Mahomes at QB, they didn't have a great season last year offensively. Now I think this year they're really going to turn it around.
Yeah. And he has wide receiver 1 experience. I mean, he was with Arizona times and then in Baltimore.
Yeah.
and
Also, I want to say
that's a great pick.
Also, I want to say that like Mahomes, after a year he doesn't win a Super Bowl, they come back stronger. Like the year after they lost to Cincy, I mean, he came out without Tyreek Hill and won the MVP. It was phenomenal. So every year that he doesn't win the Super Bowl, in the following year he just goes crazy. And that ties into Hollywood, Rasheed Rice, Travis Kelce. I mean, they can go on and on and on.
I think that's why they lost the Super Bowl. They got comfortable in their success, and now they're going to be back on the hunt. So I agree with you.
I agree. Exactly. I mean, in the regular season last year, the Chiefs' offense quite simply was not there.
Yeah.
They were very inconsistent. They had games where they scored, one touchdown some games? It's just a bunch of field goals.
It was boring.
And I think they're really going to make an emphasis on trying to bring back those dynamic plays, those long bombs. And I think guys like Marquise Brown could be the solution in that offense.
Absolutely.
Now you got me kind of on board because I was off board. But you're making a good point with Hollywood there. For me, though, in the 12th, I'm thinking of a couple of things. I could go running back. I had Rachaad White still there, but I think I'm actually going to pass. I thought, honestly, when you were talking about a guy who could have a breakout year, the first name that came to my head in this area was Keon Coleman. I think that he had a somewhat down year, but he was, I guess he was a second-round pick at the end of the day. They traded back for him. But I think that he's in line in an offense that really doesn't have an alpha wide receiver. He could maybe become that guy. In this late in draft, I do want to pick players that I think have upside to be a top-tier wide receiver or running back. So I'm going to go Keon Coleman with that one. And then with my next one, I'm going to look at a backup quarterback who I think has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy, and that is Justin Fields. because yes, as you
Really.
because his rushing upside. That's it. Because I actually don't think he's that good of a quarterback. I don't think he's some franchise star quarterback. But the Jets they wanted Justin Fields. They brought him in. And here's some stats for you. I threw this on the TikTok too when I was talking about Justin Fields. But last year, right, and he started 6 games, the first 6 games of the season. Nobody really thinks he did anything. They thought it was probably a little underwhelming. Obviously, he's not a big passer, but he was the quarterback 6 in those games. And I think that now I'm moving to a team where you have a solid O-line. I think the Jets O-line is actually really solid. And if Tanner Engstrand can implement an offense somewhat successful compared to Ben Johnson, and you have Brees Hall and you have Garrett Wilson, that Justin Fields could be a guy who is going currently at quarterback 15, but could become a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, with that rushing upside.
Yeah. He'll definitely get 750 yards rushing and probably 3,500 yards passing.
Yeah, I'd take that too.
Yeah.
Combined.
No, I think that's a really good case you made because last year on that Steelers offense, when he was starting, he had some really good games, and that was with the Steelers offense. So, I mean, I think with the weapons they have in Jets, the sky's the limit, and then he's gonna have the freedom to do whatever he wants because like they're just relying on Justin Fields just to try to develop into QB. So I feel like they're going to be patient with him. I'm going to go a similar route with QB. And I'm going to take a guy that I think has been a solid QB the last couple of years, and I think is due for a great year, and that's Jordan Love.
Damn it, that was my guy.
That's
I
damn
think
good.
I think there's a chance he can have a similar year to CJ Stroud during his rookie year, and the reason for that is because I feel they're very similar QBs, and they have great arm talent. They don't run as much as you think they should. And then with the weapons they have in Green Bay, finally get a first-round receiver in Golden.
Yeah.
And with the weapons around him, I think Jordan Love has the potential to have a breakout year next year.
I'm a fan of that a lot. And they added Matthew Golden. They added Mecole Hardman. And, yeah, I mean, I think that, last year was kind of plagued with injuries early on, and I don't know if that was a nagging thing for him, but he's going to need to step up. I think if he performs poorly, they could change it up after this season if he performs poorly. I guess, but did they put him on a long extension?
I think they did last year.
Did. Okay, they might be locked in, but
yeah,
I think he's up for a good year.
For me, I think round 13 usually calls for handcuff rounds. So let me go ahead and get Isaac Guriendo. I got Christian McCaffrey. He was hurt last year, so yeah, I'm gonna need a handcuff here. And Guriendo was really good when Jordan Mason got hurt last year. I think it was Elijah Mitchell I don't know if Elijah Mitchell even played last year. Maybe he did. But I know Jordan Mason played for the most part. He got hurt late in the season. Guriendo had some flashes until he got hurt. I think it was like a Thursday night game at Seattle, though. I want to say.
Guriendo?
Yeah, Guriendo. Yeah. He had a pretty strong outing.
I think you have to have a Niners handcuff. Like, whoever the backup is, you need to own them.
Even before McCaffrey got there, they were having issues at running back getting hurt, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, my thing is I'm going to go with my second quarterback. I'm looking at Brock Purdy, but I still think Drake May is a better quarterback, and he's a better runner. He has better weapons right now. I know he has Kittle and Ayuk. What's his name's not playing? Ayuk is not going to be playing this year, I don't think, is he?
He's going to miss some time to start the season.
He has Juwan Jennings, but I think overall, I think he's a better quarterback. I'm going with Drake May.
Wow.
I like the pick.
But you're projecting because we've seen some flashes, but he hasn't hit that stride yet. We're hoping
the last part of the last 6 weeks, Drake May was playing well.
All right.
Well, he has Diggs on the team, and he has a rookie receiver, rookie running back. He's going to do it. All right, it's back to me then. You know what? What I'm going to do here, I'll be the first one to pick a defense. So we have 3 last picks, and I'm going to go with my Denver Broncos, the best defense in the league right now.
Okay. I know I have Dak Prescott, and I know they opened up the season against the reigning champs, but I got CJ. You know what? Hold up. I'm going to pivot that, actually. I'm going to get the Baltimore Ravens defense. I think, I'm not trying to be a spoiler alert, but I think Baltimore is my number one pick to win it all this year. And I think it's not only because of the 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson, but it's also because of this defense that just got Jair Alexander just a week ago. And you know what? I'm loving Baltimore this year. I mean, they are the clear cut, in my opinion, to win it all. And I love their defense. Give me the Ravens, they're going to be phenomenal all year.
Thank you. I got Henry and Lamar Jackson. Thank you very much.
I mean, I think it's good. Lamar didn't win MVP, and then he loses to the MVP where I think Lamar actually had better stats last year.
Hmm?
And so he might be pissed off that he didn't win anything.
This is their year, Justin. This is their year. I believe it.
Yeah, I'm going to go backup running back. And I feel like in these rounds, it's all about potential. And the Rams offense, they rely a lot on Kyron Williams. And I'm not hoping he gets injured, but if he does, give me Blake Corum.
Ooh.
I think
that's a good one.
I think he's one of those running backs that if something happens to Kyron Williams and he needs to step up, he can go crazy, I think, in that Rams offense. Because I think Blake Corum is one of the most talented running backs, just talent wise in the NFL, based off what he's done in college in Michigan. And I think if he can get the touches in the starting role, if Kyron gets hurt, he can be a breakout top 10 running back in the league.
Yeah, for sure. I do like to have any Rams starting running back usually works out. Like we even had Darrell Henderson have good games for this football.
Yeah.
Now we're back to me here, and I want to do a running back to end my skill position players. And I'm just going to go with the guy who's right at the top here. I was thinking I might go a little crazy, but I'm just going to go with Ray Davis. Obviously the backup to James Cook, and obviously James Cook's going through some contract issues, so that always leaves an opportunity for Ray Davis to capitalize and maybe become the starter for this team. And I want to look this up here to make sure, but he played a game without James Cook last year, and he had a really, really good output. It's going to take me too long to find it, but no, here in week 17 last year, he had 15 carries, 64 yards, and then on receiving, he had a touchdown in that game. I think with Ray Davis, I don't think he's like some great running back, but with the Bills offense, I think it's worth the pickup for a handcuff. And then we look at defense and kicker, and I could go kicker because there's the best one right there. But I'm just going to wait because I think defensive matchups are a little bit more scarce, good defensive matchups for week 1. So I'm going to go with the Steelers here. They play the Jets in week 1. And so that's my defense.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm not really big on focusing on defense because to me, I feel like it's not as good as the defense is, but who they're going up against. So what I always do is I change my defense every week and see who go against the Saints, who go against the Browns, who go against those type of teams, and that's the defense I usually try to get because those teams, I feel like no matter who they go against, they're going to suck. So I'm going to take a kicker that I can trust, and that's Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah, that's good.
That was number one kicker, I think, last
year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you make a good point.
I'm going to go with the kicker, too. You know how much I love my Longhorns there. I know we got a Sooner, I believe, Cooper. He loves the Sooners. I love my Longhorns there. I'm going to go with Cameron Dicker there. He's such a great kicker, and I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. They're kicking field goals in SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, my goal is always to pick up a kicker at the very last, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to go and match up my quarterback with a receiver, and that's Rashid Bateman. So now I got.
I like Bateman. He got the extension.
Yeah, he's fast too, and
he's going to be good.
I'll do my kicker now, and should I just close my eyes and pick one? Let me see here. You know what? I'm going to go with he was doing great, and they're going to score points, and I'm going to go with Evan McPherson.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with another Charger, actually, wide receiver there. I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston. I know he had somewhat of a bounce-back season last year after a brutal rookie year. So let's go with Quentin Johnson there to be Herbert's second go-to guy.
That's a great pick because I think he is going to bust out this year.
He's got a fight with Trey Harris, but other than that,
top 30, I think, maybe 35.
Yeah. See, as I talked before, I think most important thing about defense is who they're going against. So I'm picking the team that I think is in the weakest division, and that's the Bills. And I think Patriots have potential with Drake May, but he's a young QB, and with Justin Fields and the Jets trying to get into rhythm, and the Dolphins with Tua, who's been inconsistent lately, I think the Bills can pick apart those offenses, and especially with like guys like Fields and Drake May. I think Fields especially, since he hasn't I feel had the opportunity to really establish himself that much that the Bills can just tear that offense apart.
I will throw in there that week 1, the Bills do play the Ravens at home. Now that is a tough matchup for Buffalo, but I understand what
And that's when I see who go against the Saints, Browns, teams like that.
Titans.
And then Titans, even though I believe in Cam Ward, I really believe in defenses who go against rookie QBs, especially early in the season.
No, yeah. I mean, Dad, you picked up the Broncos, which I think obviously are one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league already. But they host Cam Ward in his debut. I think that's going to be a really tough show for him to do well in the first week. But yeah, okay. Well, I'll finish this draft off here with a kicker. I want to go with the guy who hits indoors, so I'm going to go with Young Ho Koo to in the draft here. Oh, the draft analysis gives me an 89.
I got a 90, A-, baby.
I got 92.
92? Man,
the draft analysis here, Dween Nation.
What'd you get to Noah?
I got an 86.
To Noah.
So everybody did pretty good. Cooper has the overall best rating, and then
how do you click that? Where do you go to that right there?
Huh?
Where do you go to that part?
You go to the analyze draft.
View draft. Yeah, you click the blue view draft analysis button.
But yes, anyway, we'll discuss this off the show. But Dween Nation, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Dween Sports Podcast, another mock draft in the books. And I'm just only excited to talk more fantasy going forward as we get closer to the season. So stay tuned for all of that. And to our guests, thank you guys for joining us. This is a lot of fun. And yeah, Genoa, send us out.
Yo, Dween Nation, thank you for watching for another one of our fantasy mock drafts as we lead to the fantasy football season. Let us know what you think. Comment down below. We love you guys. And as always, peace.
Peace out.